Mike's Daily Podcast.
Against my better judgment, I'm doing a podcast today. Mike's Daily Podcast, episode 1700 and... what is it today? 90-something. And, yeah, 1792. Broadcasting from Cafe Anyway, located somewhere in Podcastro Valleymont, the last place on Earth. People sure annoy me.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
And I had a day off yesterday where I didn't do a thing. I didn't go anywhere. I stayed at home.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
But it's weird because it's like not someone coming up to you and pushing you down and going, ha! It's something different than that. Like my pa, he'd get mad at every little thing. But I try not to be like that. I try to be civilized and not sad. But people are doing passive-aggressive stuff and...
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Let's say annoying me with other things that they do.
Mike's
How can I be more
Daily
specific than that?
Podcast.
It's one of those days.
Yeah!
Yeah. People not doing their jobs. People expecting me to read their minds. People, let's say, that don't want to do their jobs. So they go and they pull a passive-aggressive thing on me. That's fine. Whatever. So, that's life right now. But hey, all the back pay is starting to happen, and that's good. Oh, Fitbit! This is the worst. Fitbit live chat. Which, by the way, I have not brought you a podcast. Friday I did not do one, and I probably won't do one the rest of this week. We'll probably be back next week, not because of my level of annoyance right now and irritability, but because I'm training someone and it's going to take a little while. So, yes, I'm training someone. I'm training a guy who's been on this podcast recently to do a very important radio job, which I'm still doing right now. And if I was not doing it, we would have had a big, colossal mess up. So, that's what Fitbit, their live chat stinks. Because I don't know why. Do you have a Fitbit? Or are you into the Apple Fit thing? Or do you not care about Fit stuff? I understand. However, if you do have a phone, a smartphone, you can...
And here's today's podcast picture.
Download a myriad of things that will track how far you are walking, or if you're into walking, and that will get your basic. Like you can just tell if you're taking a certain stride, certain steps, and going a certain distance during a certain time, that you've maybe burned some calories. So there are a myriad of free apps like that. But Fitbit has this thing. And I got a Fitbit. In fact, if you go back to the podcast, gosh, I think it was probably somewhere around 300 or something. I offered to interview a Fitbit person. They had just gotten started in 2009 or something? And I got my first Fitbit around 2012, 2011. And I lost it. On the first time I went walking, it fell off my belt. And I couldn't find it, so I emailed them, and they go, oh, sure, Mike, we'll send you a new one. And they did, and they said, and I had offered, I'll interview you on my podcast, and they said, no, that's okay. But yeah, they were really nice about it. So now they've grown into this behemoth who still can't seem to beat Apple with their iWatches and iHealth and iWhatever. And so this live chat guy named Brandon, so I get that little balloon popping up on the computer. I'm at home and I'm trying to live chat with someone and find out why the heck my Fitbit, and I've accumulated all these steps, but since November it hasn't uploaded any of that data to my account. Then when it's in my account, then it gets transferred over to my health insurance. And then my health insurance goes down because it sees I'm walking a bunch. But it's not doing that. So I'm suffering this crisis where they will not, the syncing is not going on between my Fitbit and whatever. And interestingly enough, I've not heard the... Oh, did we do the Here's Today's Podcast Picture? Oh, we did. Sorry, Ariel. I completely ignored you. All right, I will tell you what the podcast picture is in just a moment. So I'm on this live chat thing, and they got to verify. And I give them my email, and they go, oh, that email doesn't apply to this account. And I go, well, yes, it does, because I'm in that email right now. I'm in that account. I've got it open. Screenshot, I'm sending it to you. Oh, okay. So after a half hour of that, they go, okay, what's the issue? We apologize for the inconvenience. Yeah, your apologies mean nothing. So they say, yeah, well, you have nothing in your account. So what are you gonna do? We can't help you. This device you have doesn't work anymore. Goodbye. Or they didn't even say goodbye. They said, I said, well, I was getting nowhere. They kept going, we apologize for the inconvenience. We don't. So they basically keep throwing apology after vapid, empty apology at you until you basically hang up, which is what I did. And I saved that entire talk between me and this idiot Brandon. And then I filled out that stupid survey they do at the end that they never read. And I filled it out, and they, for some reason, they kept coming back with, so what was the issue you had? And I wrote, yeah, Brandon didn't help at all, blah, blah, blah. There was a problem with the thing with the Fitbit. And I submit that. Okay, what could we do in the future that would help you? Brandon could be less of an idiot. Brandon was an idiot. And etc. So Fitbit sucks. And I basically told them you have 48 hours to fix this. Oh, hi, Basil. Basil had a fun weekend. We took him to Temescal. And he peed on the sidewalk in Temescal. And so we had a fun time. And then we ate some food at a Thai soul food place called Buffalo and Bird. Not a fan. And my lovely lady friend said, and she's not the first person to suggest this, you should do a podcast where you review restaurants. So here I go. I'm reviewing this restaurant. Buffalo and Bird, not good. Tiny portions, tiny bowls. The food, just don't even begin to serve pig jowl. Not a thing. And I just offended all the vegetarians and vegans. But yes, I did have pig jowl, and I apologize to you, my little friend. But yes, it basically, if you've ever had pork, it tasted like if you've ever accidentally eaten the fat off of something that was, pork chops or whatever. That's how it tasted. That very rubbery. So, to sum up, Temescal has a bunch of cool restaurants, but don't go to Buffalo and Bird and Buffalo, whatever it's called. It's not that good. And not only that, I felt really weird the next morning. And to sum up, don't use Fitbit. Fitbit is awful. I gave them 48 hours, and they still have not fixed this issue. So there is something seriously wrong with this company, and they don't care. And the fact that you spent money on an item that becomes obsolete in a short amount of time. It's only been 5 years, and now it's obsolete, and they don't offer any assistance at all. And their live chat is useless. So I'm going to call them today and let them know that they have been severely dressed down on my podcast today. I have tore them down, for they have sucked extensively. And I will never, ever use them again. But in the meantime, I need all those steps that I've done. I need that transferred ASAP as we go outside a cafe anyway. We're bringing Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valley. Well, and then the birds in the parking lot of where I work decided to poop all over my car. Those little birds you hear in the background, perhaps. And the poop would not come off. Oh my gosh. I was using the highest pressure power out of my hose, and I still couldn't get the damn poops off. Holy moly. So, careful of the parking under trees this time of year in the Bay Area anyway, because we've gone through an early spring, and everything's blossoming and blooming, and people are sneezing, and people are saying, Gesundheit. And I think that's pretty much... Oh, the Big Oven app was an app I used to use a lot, which told you if you had like certain... You punch in the ingredients that you had. You give it like it gave you a couple different lines. You entered in each particular line the ingredient you had, and then it would search for a recipe for you. Now, you can do that more easily online on just about any recipe website nowadays. You don't need Big Oven, which, by the way, not the best name for an app. Just conjures up all kinds of bad images. But yeah, so I don't use that, and I don't really use many apps at all these days because it takes up too much memory on your stupid phone. Oh, but Mike, I've got a phone with infinite memory on it. Yeah. I was helping somebody with their podcast, and everything they had was saved on an Apple device. And let me just tell you, Apple saves things so freaking crazy. And I'm trying to unspool what she's giving me. It was annoying. I've been very annoyed on today's podcast. Oh, well. And what's this thing? Oh, finally, I'm going to wrap up with the fact that Jeff Bezos, not only is he watching you...
Jeff Bezos is watching you.
He's also getting divorced. Is that not the craziest thing? That, like, this is going to be one of the most lucrative divorces in history? Forget about Paul McCartney and all his divorces. This is going to be crazy. So, and also, speaking of divorce, those commercials where people... It's supposed to help you stop snoring, and it's usually two married people. My husband used to snore all the time, and they're usually Australian. My husband used to snore all the time, and then I got him snore right. Snore right corrects your snoring habits. Here's the thing. Those couples that hate each other because of the snoring, they're going to get divorced anyway, in my opinion. They already dislike each other for a myriad of other reasons. The snoring is the cherry on the cake. If my lovely lady friend, let's say she's over at the house and she's snoring in the next room, because we wouldn't possibly ever be in the same bed because we're not married yet. And I'm giving you a little glimpse into my life, and then I slam the door. But yes, let's say, for example, you're with... I just think that you gotta love the person and love their snoring. I don't know. Make a game out of it. You know, oh, the snoring sounds so pretty because it reminds me of my lovely lady friend. Oh, I love the snoring because it's my beautiful husband who's snoring, and he's a mountain of a man. You gotta make a thing of it. My dog, when he snores, I frickin' fall asleep. It puts me out. It's that... What's that stuff called? It's like the white noise thing. It's got the 3 letters. I can't think of it at the moment. If you can think of it, you can email me, MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST@gmail.com, or call me at 336-MM-DAILY. There's a couple people here. Oh my gosh, this is Chely Shoehart, gift shop supervisor. I heard a really old version of me on the podcast you did last week. I think it was the Wednesday one. Yes. There was a very, young... You were a young Chely Shoehart back then. I know, it was so funny to hear myself so young and stuff. You were really young and stuff back then. But somehow you're still young now, so that's important to keep yourself young in spirit. Look who else is here. Oh, Mike, this is Floyd the Floorman! And this is John Deere, the engineer. Mike, I guess a lot of people have offended you today.
But if you get offended, that's the way the cookie crumbles. No?
Indeed, that is how the cookie crumbles, and that's the end of the show. Next show, it is going to be the wonderful Benita, the Disgruntled Fiddle Player, and the Brewmaster. Tell you what the podcast picture is in just a moment.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com. Email Mike now at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!
Last Thursday, there was a beautiful sunset that I saw from Podcastra Valley, and I am now sharing it with you on the podcast picture at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com.